Hi guys. Hi guys. This is Jason here from Nathaniel. Welcome to our live lesson on exploring the blues. So, what we are basically going to do today is a lot of stuff. We are going to first of all learn the major and the minor blues scales. We are going to learn how to play it up and down. And for this particular lesson, I've chosen B flat. B flat's a nice scale. Lot of people do blues with C and G and a few other things. So I figured we'll just do B flat and see how that goes. We'll also look at the fingering for all these scales. The fingering for all this stuff would be very, very useful for you to learn, not only for this, but for pretty much any other scale. It would pretty much help you with, in general, playing the blues. Um, We'll also look at building patterns, a variety of blues patterns. We'll look at transcribing some patterns. Transcribing basically means you hear the thing and then you try to write it down and then, eventually play it, of course. And we look at some improv soloing tips. And I've also left across some interesting homework which you can continue to work on, because in this lesson we may not have that much of time. So you can continue to work on this stuff over the due course before we, of course, go live again with another blues lesson. So there's a lot of homework waiting for you, but yeah. So in this lesson, let's just start with the major minor blues, the formation, then the fingering, and then what I basically wanted to cover in this particular lesson was how you can improvise just using the ascending and the descending motion of the blues scale. In other words, just going up and going down. So how do you make that a bit more catchy, a bit more interesting, a bit more dynamic, groovy, and whatnot? And yeah, that's pretty much the exercise. There are a lot of other options you can do to improvise, but for today, I just want to kind of play it up and down, in the most ridiculously obvious way, up and down. So let's get cracking. And before we do, if you're watching this lesson and if you're not a part of our channel, the do consider subscribing to our channel. Hit that subscribe button. It's right there. Please hit it. And there's a bell. Some of you know we do a lot of lessons. So the bell will help you stay notified whenever we go live. Or as you know, the riffs which I come up with, we end up doing that one every day. So you will get notified whenever the new piece of music comes your way. There's also a website which is nathanielschool.com. You could head over there, check out some of our courses if you wish. Any of our modules would be waiting for you right there. So all you have to do is head over to nathanielschool.com. You can figure out a few modules which may suit you, a few courses, workshops, and so on and so forth. And as always, all the notes which I will do, my style is generally to write these notes, provide exercises, provide homework, some key tips and points and whatnot. All of that to help us supplement the lesson will be available on our Patreon page. So you may want to head over to our Patreon and check that out. Okay, guys, let's get cracking. The first order of business is to write down the blues scale. So we are going to use the key of B flat for this particular lesson. And for those of you watching the video live, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And yeah, I'll be very, very happy to go through them and sort out any of your issues. So let's get cracking. We are on the key of B flat. So a good start would be to just write down the B flat major scale. If you know that already, the B flat major scale, from what we know, appears to have how many sharps or flats? It has two sharps, no, two flats, namely B flat and E flat. So it's a two flat scale, and let's map it out. B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. I tend to write it in this what I call as a piano worm, so that allows us to visualize the white and the black keys easily. So when playing it, it's not too much of a big deal. It's just you just go B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, A, G, F, E flat, D, C, B flat, There we go. So B flat major, and now you want to form the major blues and the minor blues. So why don't we just get cracking with that particular job? The major blues, blues scales are two in number. We have the major blues and we have the minor blues. Both of these scales are derived from their respective pentatonic scales, and then they add one additional note to that, and that becomes the bluesy note, and the note which really sounds bluesy. So B flat major blues, the formula basically is 1 2 3 flat 3 5 6 octave. Okay, so that'll be, I'll show you how to play that on the keyboard very shortly. But for now, yeah, this is the general formula, and it's a nice practice to circle the 3 flat, because this is something you sparingly use over the major blues. It's sort of like a pickle in a meal, or it's just some extra spice or flavor you add, you could say. Now, coming to the minor pentatonic, what happens in the minor pentatonic is as follows. You go 1 3 flat, then what happens? Then you have your 4, then your tritone 5 flat, 5 normal, perfect fifth 5, then you have your 7 flat, and finally the octave. So again, here it would be nice to circle your 5 flat, and you got yourself the B flat, or the general minor blues. And I've written minor pentatonic as I see here. Let me just quickly change that to minor blues. Derived, however, from the minor pentatonic scale. So if you actually remove the 3 flat from the major blues, it becomes the major pentatonic. It's like da 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 on B flat. But then with the 3 flat, so you add that 3 flat there. So that makes it very bluesy. And then you have the minor blues, which will have, you have the tritone there, which is represented here as a 5 flat. So major blues, the spicy note is 3 flat. Minor blues, the spicy note is the 5 flat. So why don't we write this down on the key of B flat, a very commonly used scale for a lot of people. It's a very common blues scale used a lot with horn players especially. So let's get cracking. B flat, the 1 is going to be B flat. The 2, also known as the major 2, will be C. The 3 flat will be D flat. The 3 natural, or the major third, as I've pointed out here, will be D. Then the 5 will be our F. 6 will be G. And then, not that this is a new note, it's just there. So we could just write this and just put a dot here indicating that it's not really a new note. And coming to the minor blues, it will be B flat. Then you have the minor third, the perfect fourth, the tritone, which is E. Technically, I guess you could also call it F flat. And then you have F, A flat, which is your flat 7, and finally B flat, which you could end with. Okay, so major blues 1 2 3 flat 3 5 6 octave. Major blues. Now minor blues will be 1 3 flat 4 5 flat 5 7 flat octave. Okay. Now, let me help you guys with the fingering for these two scales, because it may be new to you. Maybe you haven't played the scale before. So let's figure that out. So the B flat major blues would be something like this. Let me show you the ascending ones. Now you could start with your index finger, or you could even start with your middle finger. Middle meaning middle on B flat, and when white note follows black, you then cross your thumb and go. So middle thumb, middle thumb, or you could go index thumb, middle thumb, then cross over and end with the ring finger. That could be help. One more time. So I just like to show it a bit faster to just show you that it's quite comfortable for me to at least go one octave with this particular scale. So maybe for me the middle finger seems to be a bit more easier, a bit more natural. You could even consider your index finger, but I don't think you'd want to start with your thumb. Thumb may not really work for you. So that's about the major blues. Why don't we revise that once more? One more time. Okay, you could even kind of play this stuff over the 12 bar blues. You know, the 12 bar blues is very much a very commonly used chord progression. So you could play this stuff over the entire 12 bar blues framework if you wish to, and that'll sound really cool. So if I just take this over the standard 12 bar, B flat, now that's your E flat, which is the 4 major dominant 7th. Back to 1, 5, and coming back to 1. Let's do that again. So 1. Actually, before we do that, let me just write that down so it's easy for you to visualize while I play. So the blues 12 bar will basically be 1, and then I'm just going to repeat the 1. That's a repeat sign. Then we go to the 4 dominant, back to 1. Then the 5, 4, back to 1. Can stay on 1 for a bit more. So what will this be on the B flat major scale? If we can just write that below, it'll be B flat dominant 7th, or just B flat major, played over 4 rounds. Then you go to the E flat, which is the 4, play that twice. Then you come back to B flat and you, play that again. Then you have your F once, and then E flat once, and then you end with B flat, probably played twice. So this is what we call as the 12 bar form, or the 12 bar blues progression. So when you're practicing the scale, you could actually just practice this with the 12 bar. You could just go up and down and kind of do it with the 12 bar. Let's see how that sounds. 1, going to 4, 1, 5, 4, 1. Okay, so the major blues fingering again. My preference is start with the middle finger and then see how it goes. So now coming to the minor blues. The minor blues, as we've written there in the chart, is B flat, D flat, E flat, E, F, A flat, B flat. Coming down, B flat, A flat, F, E, E flat, D flat, B flat. It's quite easy. Just remember, start with your thumb. That can be very helpful. So there we go. So that's thumb on B flat, D flat, E flat, E tritone. You could get that cross. One more time. So going up and coming down. Up. One more time. Again. And let's try this also with the 12 bar and see how that goes. Going to 4. F. Obviously, you can play it in any pattern you wish as long as it's part of the scale and as long as you follow the 12 bar form. Let's see how it goes again. Down. And then 4. E flat. And then F. E flat. Right, guys, so that's a bit about the fingering of the two blues scales, the major blues and the minor blues. Now, moving forward with our goal, we've looked at the major minor blues, we've looked at some fingering. Now let's look at building simple patterns. So the way I like to build patterns is generally create something and think about leaving a few gaps in the way. So generally, whenever you look at a pattern is definitely not going to be something like da 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 da. That sounds more like a machine gun running. So if you have an endless stream of eighth notes or an endless stream of 16th notes or triplets, it's just not going to create a pattern. It'll be very annoying or chaotic for the listener. So let me just give you a few quick ways to build a pattern. And if I were to guide you how to come up with it, just sing it, finish the scale going up. After you finish the scale going up, just take a break and see what happens. So for example, if I have this sort of a thing where I'm going to go ascending and then take a break, let's see what happens here. Pa ba pa 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 ba. I took a small break there. What did I do there? Pa 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 ba. Okay, a good practice would generally be to try and notate what you just actually sang, or in this case, what I sang. Da 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 da. So, pa 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 da. So, what did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and then 3, 4. So I kind of have a gap there, no? 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Nothing at the 3, 4. I'm notating it with eighth notes. You could even use 16s if you wish. I just figure eighth notes will be a lot easier on the I. So in this particular case, you're going to go once. Maybe you could go ascending, and then one more time you go descending. And the number of notes you're going to play is 7, including the octave. 6 notes for the scale. Then you add the octave to finish it off. So this becomes an interesting pattern because I've given a nice gap here, and patterns need gaps. And then you can also look at approaching some of the offbeats as well. Let's see how this sounds. We try and point that out while I'm doing it, which will be a bit tricky, but bear with me. Down. So I did both ascending and descending. One more time. Come on. And down. You can do the same thing with the major blues. Down. And then. you could even do this over the 12 bar as we discussed earlier. And then back. There we have it. So you can keep building patterns like this. For example, let's come up with another one. Now you guys try to transcribe it with me, and I'm just going to sing it, and then we'll try and write it. A one. Come on, I thought of one. And now, singing. Ba-dee-do, ba-ba. Ba-dee-do, ba-ba-ba. One more time. Ba-dee-do, ba-ba-ba. Ba-dee-do, ba-ba-ba. Ba-dee-do, ba-ba-ba. So if you think about it, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. A lot of ands. So ba-dee-do, ba-ba-ba. Down. Ba-da-dee-da, ba-ba-ba. Major blues. Ba-da-da-dum, bum, ba-da-da-dum, bum, ba-ba. Down. And now let's try and transcribe this and see how I'm snapping. 1, 2, 3, 4. Try to get the snaps generally at these. And down. And now try to write it. 1 and 2 and rest. Rest note. There we go. 1 bar's over. So far we have pa-de-do, pa-pa-pa-4. I think it comes in at the and then you kind of leave a rest, a 3-beat gap, isn't it? So pa-da-da-da, pa-pa-pa. Count the number of notes. 7. So it hits the octave here. So let's just demonstrate this with the major blues on the keys. Quite cool, I think. And again. Then. See how it sounds, the minor. Again. And down. Again. Again. As always, try it off over the 12. And going to the 4. Back to 1. And then the 5. 4. Quick change. Back to. There we go. So that's the whole idea, guys. You could try and come up with these patterns. It could be 6 notes or it could be 7 notes long, and you figure it out. Try and sing the scale. Create an enjoyable pattern, and then try and put it down. And what we call as transcribing. Transcribing is the process of hearing something and writing it pretty much down, and then trying to play it back. So, for example, this rhythm right here, which I wrote in the main mention. So you go pam, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and pam. So that'll be what? Pam, ba da da, pa pam, pam, ba da da, pa pam, pam, ba da da, da da. Maybe I should have added another note there, but you get the idea. Let me just try and sing one more pattern which we can try and transcribe for ourselves. Let me think. There we go. I've got something. Hope you like it. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bam, bam, ba-da-dum, bam, bam. Let me just work this out again. 2, 3. I got it. Bam, bam, ba-da-dum, bum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum, ba-da-dum. And now let's try notating it. Bum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum. So that's actually a nice dotted thing there, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3. There's a rest at 3, I think. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Rest. And 1 and 2 and 3. Rest. Pump, pump, I hope I'm right. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Now, if you want to just cross check if you're right, or just to check, mathematically, you could try and put this down in an eighth note grid. This is what I call as an eighth note grid. You just write down all the beats: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and next bar 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and now try and do it using this grid: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And so you could do this again, both ascending and descending scale, something like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 again, 1 and 2 and 3 and up and down, bam, bam, down, and boom, boom, okay, let's 12 bar the guy. So if you can even do this over the minor blues. And it's a bit tricky to actually keep the rhythm, especially when you want to kind of improvise and do something else. So that itself is a nice lesson, even for someone like me. I'm trying to hold on to that rhythm, but it's tricky. It's generally tricky. Right, guys? So I hope I've given you some insights into this improvisation exercise. So in a nutshell, now we form the major and minor blues successfully on B flat. Where is that fellow? B flat. Here you are. B flat major you write, then you write B flat major blues, B flat minor blues. Then we learned how to play the fingering for both these particular scales: major, minor. After that, what did we do? Then we worked on some patterns and transcribing patterns. And just in conclusion, I'd like to give you guys a few improv tips. And before I do, a mention that I've notated a few more exercises which will be put out as a neat PDF document on our Patreon page. So if possible, do consider heading over and probably viewing our Patreon channel. You see some of the links are here. You have Patreon. Please do consider subscribing again. You can follow me on Instagram at Jason Zach. Patreon is also Jason Zach. And do consider subscribing to our channel. Just hit the button and hit the bell for notifications. You can also go to our website, nathanielschool.com, for any lessons, courses, workshops, and private lessons, or anything else you'd like to learn from our resources. Coming back. So, all of these exercises are available on Patreon. And just to leave you with a couple of final words, I just put together some ideas for general improvisation and soloing. So, when you're thinking of an improvisation or a solo, the first thing you could consider thinking of is building a very tiny motif or a small phrase. It could even be da ba da dum, da ba da dum, and then 12 bar that. If you're doing blues, especially, try to play that over a 12-bar framework. Ba da ba da bum. Even if you do something like as simple as that. So you could build a small melodic pattern or a rhythmic pattern and try and see where that goes. I'd be thrilled to do another lesson on just these things, making a motive. And I definitely will. I will plan something. Today's lesson was very simple. Take the blues scale, go up and down with it, and create some magic, hopefully. Okay. The second tip while improvising and trying to come up with these patterns is try to sing. As you keep singing, ideas just organically happen. Sometimes you don't even know how it happens. You may not even be able to explain it. It just comes out of you, and that's the kind of thing which I would recommend. Try to sing. And I also wrote this thing called call and response. So maybe you could sing a phrase and then immediately try to match it on the piano, or maybe record it on a phone, listen to it a few times, and then match it on the piano or whatever your main instrument is. You could also try and test yourself to do this real time. So you could do a solo where you're singing and playing the piano parallelly, and just see where it goes, and just try to not leave the scale, either with your voice or on the piano. For example, something like this. So I think I'm coming up with a lot of this stuff by singing, like there we go. Could do stuff like that. So singing and playing gives you a very organic way of doing stuff. The other thing you could consider to do, guys, is small variations. I have covered a lot of these things on YouTube. There are a lot of playlists on melody writing, melody composing, or better still, you could head over to our website, nathanielschool.com. There's a section called free lessons. And on that section, we've put together all of our YouTube videos in one neat place. We were not able to categorize it that well on YouTube itself. So we just put all the videos onto our website and kind of give you easy filters to kind of access everything. So a few tips on improv for you. Motif, create tiny motifs and go with it. Sing and play, that really helps. And take what you have and build a few variations. Try a few rhythmic displacements. Simplify what you did, complicate what you did, and then maybe change the pitch at the very end of the phrase. Like, for example, if you do just change the last note. Can just change that. Ba-de-da-dum, ba-de-da-do, ba-de-da-dum, pam, pum, ba-de-da-dum, pum, pum, ba-de-da-dum, pum, pum, da-da-do-da-do-da-do-dum. There's so many ways of getting this job done. Right, guys? So that's about the time we have for today. Thanks a ton for watching this. It means a lot for us. And today we just talked about blues improv. All we did in this entire lesson was just go up and down the scale. No patterns, nothing drastically different other than just going that. What changed? What made it sound cool? It was the patterns, it was the rhythmic ideas which we ended up creating, a lot of which are waiting for you to practice. Download yourself a copy on our Patreon. Again, this is Jason Zach from Nathaniel signing off. I hope you found the lesson useful. Please share the video with your friends or share anything you want on our channel. There are a lot of videos. Share them with your friends, family on social media. Give the video a like, a thumbs up, give it a share, leave a comment. Let us know if you'd like to learn something. We are here to help you grow as a musician, and we love what we do. So do suggest things. We will take any of your suggestions um, for future lessons. And thanks a ton again for watching the lesson.